Well, hello everybody. This is Douglas Allen Frazier, and this is the beginning of a new programming episode that we are going to call simply Douglas Frazier Today. Well, today is the 22nd of November, 2016. 53 years ago was a very interesting day in the history of America. A day that people my age and many older recognize as a day that changed their look upon America. Because this was the day that the President of the United States, John Fitzgerald Kennedy, was assassinated here in Dallas, Texas, only a few miles away from where I live today. At that time, I was a senior in high school. We were in my art class, just about noon, just about the time to go to lunch. And one of our classmates came in and announced that the President of the United States had been shot in Dallas, Texas. We all sat there in shock. And then for the rest of the afternoon, everything was, I'll just have to say it was just kind of in a surreal feeling. We listened on the radio that was playing either in classrooms or in the open air area of the school. We also had that same night a playoff in football, of which I was a member of the football team. And a decision had to be made. Were we or were we not going to be playing? And we were not the only school that was in this playoff program. There were hundreds of schools across the state of California that would be affected on this day. But it was decided by the officials across the state that President Kennedy, one of his favorite activities was playing touch football. So it was decided that all of the games to be played on that night were, in fact, a memorial to the President of the United States. I can remember that we loaded up on our buses and we had about a 2.5 or 3 hour ride that we had to take to the other school that we were going to be playing, which was up in the Central Coast area of California. And while we were traveling, we took a break at one of the state beach parks along the route, and we noted that the flag of the United States was still flying at full staff. And a couple of my classmates and I went to the flagpole. It wasn't locked, so we were able to lower the flag to half-mast. We played our football game and we won. But here it is, 53 years ago, that took place. And it's still almost like it was yesterday or even today for so many of us that lived through that day. It's a day like 2011. Or excuse me. Well, yes, 2011 with what happened in Benghazi or the Twin Towers in 2001. All of these are things that affect us in so many different ways. But my purpose in sharing this inaugural message, if you will, has to do with what has gone on over those last 53 years, that now we see in this nation we have a presidential election, a very heated, a very contentious presidential election, and now we have a bunch of young people that are crying, that are bemoaning, that are in the streets protesting. And even in the state of Texas, there was a play that was given that highlighted the assassination of the president-elect Donald J. Trump. So I say, what has happened to our young people? There's words that have come out on the news media, on the internet, where college students are having to have comfort areas where they can de-stress. There's been other reports of some high schools, some very sophisticated private schools, where they actually had to bring in grief counselors and service dogs, comfort dogs for the students because of the election. I go back to the days also when there was a division, as we see in the United States, but in a different area. The division that we have and the challenges of these young people have taken place because of the generations that came up from my time period, where we saw in the 60s the growth of the Vietnam War, the challenges that brought. I can remember joining the service in 1966 in the Air Force. I did not go to Vietnam because I had another job to do that would not take me there. But I have many of my friends that went, at least 2 that I know of, that did not come back. Several have received wounds during that time, but I think over the time that it was the wounds caused by the people of the nation as they came against those that volunteered and those that were drafted and went and fought. Now we can debate the rightness or the wrongness of that war and the results thereof. That's a whole nother subject matter. But this is a point I want to make. Those that were rebelling, those that were coming against the U.S. government, like Bill Ayers and his wife, some of the close friends of President Barack Obama, the ones fomenting forms of revolution and even terrorism across the streets of America. In many cases, they have risen up to be in positions of leadership. They have certainly taken over many of the campuses and are now teaching the young people from that era. And we look at where we are today, and now we have this PC world that we have struggled through for so long, and the results we're seeing is not good. We need to be looking to make a change. In the book of Proverbs, it says, train up a child, and when they are old, they will not move away from it. Now, that's not the exact words, but that is the correct interpretation. And we have seen children trained up that they have no responsibilities anymore. They have no responsibilities at their schools. They have no responsibilities in many of their homes in America. They show up for an athletic event and they're given participation trophies just for being on the team. Whether they win anything or not, they're just given a participation trophy or certificate. I showed up. And so we have literally developed a nation of, I'll just put it this way, lily-livered, spoiled brats across this nation. And that needs to change. That needs to change. It needs to change from the family structure. It needs to change within the educational structure. It needs to change within the churches across America. Because this nation, in order to be great, needs a young generation that will stand up. They know the difference between right and wrong. They know the difference between winning and losing, and then being willing to go out and congratulate either the winner or the loser. And then decide that for the next game, they're going to try that much harder. They're going to work that much harder. They're not going to be satisfied with just getting by. They're not going to be looking for just what the government can do for them. As John F. Kennedy said in his presidential inaugural, don't think about what America is going to do for you, but what are you going to do for America? So I'm saying this today as a memorial to John F. Kennedy. Thank you for inspiring my generation to do that much better, to move that much farther, to do the things that will make this nation great, and to continue to do that for a lifetime. That is my prayer for those that are in the streets, those that are in the colleges, those that are in the high school, those that are even in the elementary schools, that they will look and see that they have a responsibility to make this nation great again.